All right, so here is the second video of basically 6.5 graphing in standard form. This is going to be the last of the 6.5 videos. I'm just going over this example here, and then my next video will be the 6.6 notes. All right, so we're graphing the equation. I'm figuring out my components here. So first thing, opens up or down, value max or min. I'm going to look at this A value here, all right? And I'm looking at whether or not it's positive or negative. And there's no number in front of it, but I have that negative sign there. So so if it's negative, that means that it's going to open down. And because of that, we know it's going to have a max, all right? It's got that top value right there. Axis, all right, so opens up or down, value, that's all on that A value. Two questions answered just by that one value right there. Axis of symmetry, negative B over 2A. That is the formula that we're going to be using for axis of symmetry right there, okay? So, we want to look at my B value. It is -2, and I plug it in. Negative of a -2, make sure it's the negative of that B value, or basically think of it as the opposite sign of that B value. So it's the negative of a -2, which is just +2, okay? And then on the bottom there, I have 2, and then it's 2 times my A value, the same A value I looked at. Again, no number out in front there, so if that happens, that basically what I do is I treat it like a -1. So it's basically going to be 2 times a -1. Which turns into 2 times over -2, which is -1. So my axis of symmetry is -1. Then, for my vertex, I plug in a -1 for my x value. And that's my x value, is my axis of symmetry. Whatever number I get for my axis of symmetry is the number for my vertex, or the x value for my vertex. I still need to find the y value. Now for the y value, what I do, I just plug in the -1 for my x there. Okay, so I'm going to do that over here. Squared -2 times the -1 minus 1 equals, and we have to be kind of careful on this. It's -1, plug the negative. So you got to be careful with that negative out front. It's basically the same as plug in the negative with squared with a negative out front. So if I have the -1 squared, that turns into 1. Oh, hold up. Turns into 1 with a negative out front. -2, I treat this like a -2 with a minus sign in front. -2 times -1 turns into +2 minus 1. And then that turns into a -1 right there. There we go. And then last and certainly most not least, we just simplify that out. -1 plus 2 minus 1. That is going to get us 0. All right. Going to get us 0. Then with my then I got my y-intercept. Again, I'm looking at my c value right here. And that's all I'm looking at with that sign, with the sign out front, all right? It's the number and the sign, okay? And if we look at our c value with the sign and the number, the y-intercept is going to be a -1, okay? I'm going to skip solutions, go straight to domain and range. Again, color coordinating here. Domain, once again, all the time, every time, when we're asking about quadratics, is going to be -infinity to infinity, all right? That's every single time for domain. Range. Again, 2 things I'm looking at here. I'm going to write this over here for range. Up/down, and then y value of vertex. That's the first thing I'm looking at. That's the second thing I'm looking at. So up or down. So look at my range. Start with up or down. It opens up. Does it open up or down? It looks like it opens down. It's going to look something like this. So we know that if it opens down, there's going to be a -infinity, and I'm going to put that first with a parenthesis, always a parenthesis, and then comma. All right, that answers my first question. Second question, y value of my vertex. Look over here, up here. Look at my vertex. -1, 0. 0 is the y value. So I'm going to put a 0 with a bracket. I have a number. I'm going to put a bracket down there. All right? All right. I'm going to change. Let's go right here. I'm going to put my vertex in the middle of my table here. And then and then on my x values, I'm going to go up 1, 0, 1, and then down 1, -2, -3. I already know, and let's actually go ahead and graph some of these. So I go -1, 0, and it says my y-intercept is -1, so that's already here. And that basically already says that I already know what this is going to be. It's going to be -1, because for my y-intercept, it's the same as plugging 0 in for x. So, and then if you look at this point here, 0, -1. Which also means, because, again, this is why I put the vertex in the middle of the table here. This is what, there's that symmetry with that. And because if this value here equals -1, then this value here on the opposite side has to equal -1, okay? Now, I don't know what 1 or -3 is, so I just have to plug one of them in. I'm going to erase some stuff here for that. So I'm going to plug in, let's go ahead and plug in a 1. So I got -1 squared minus 2 times 1. Again, just plugging 1 in for all my x's here. -1. Simplify it out. I got this 1 squared here. That's just going to give me 1 with the negative out front. That's a -1. And then I got this -2 times 1. Well, that just leaves me with a -2. -1. Move forward. If I simplify that out, that's going to get me a -4 for 1, which means that if I plug a -3 in, that is also going to get me a -4. All right. All right. So I've gotten my table filled out here. Let's go ahead and graph it. So I got, my 1. So then we go 1 over 1 here down to -4 there. Got -2, -1. I go over to -2, down to -1. -3, -4 on the bottom here. I'm going to go to -3 here, and then down to -4 there. Connect my dots. And not the best looking parabola in the world, but yeah. Again, all I'm really looking for with your graphs is just the 5 points there and connect the dots in some way. Guys, that's all I have for this example. Please make sure you are reaching out for any questions if you have any. Thank you. Have a good day.